is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back to talk about Detroit Lions minicamp. Day 2 of Detroit Lions minicamp is now in the books. I got to think of something else to say instead of in the books. So today we have some takeaways. Let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're back to talk about Detroit Lions minicamp. So day number 2 took place today. Tomorrow will be day number 3 as we continue through this off season. And yes, we're in a different location once again. But I got to be honest, man, I really like the lighting here. The lighting's solid, okay? The lighting that we have to work with is solid. It's better than I think the last one, but that's okay. Here we are to talk some more Detroit Lions minicamp. Now, I first want to start off with the participation report first. I like going through the participation report, who was there, who wasn't there, and why were they not there if we know. And today we have a few names on this. Now, the Lions currently have 89 players on their roster, which means there is 1 roster spot open as of now. Of course, this can change with signings and cuts, but right now the Lions have 1 roster spot open. So another signing could be made. There's been a pretty good amount of moves happening recently for the Detroit Lions, but I thought I would just point it out. Let's go through the participation report from the Detroit Lions day 2 minicamp. Who was participating and who was not participating? Most players were there and participating, but there were a few that weren't for the Detroit Lions. Let's start off with Austin Bryant first because his name has come up a few times, but Dan Campbell did shed some light on the Austin Bryant situation, that saying that he is dealing with a minor injury. So that's why he's not participating with the Detroit Lions. It's definitely something to monitor to see when he does come back, because hopefully he comes back soon. We know recently the Lions signed Reggie Gilbert Jr., the outside linebacker from Green Bay. So there's some more competition there, and you just really want to see him on the field. We've talked about it. The injuries that this guy has dealt with throughout his career have really hurt him. So hopefully he can get healthy sooner than later and get back out there practicing with the Detroit Lions. But Dan Campbell did shed a little light. It's not like a holdout. He's just dealing with a minor injury. Same thing with Jalen Reeves-Maybin, also dealing with a minor injury. So that's why they did not participate. Now, again, remember, we're so early into the offseason that the Detroit Lions probably would rather err on the side of safety rather than pushing a guy through something this early into the offseason. So if they're worried at all, they're probably going to try to play it safe, but it is still something to monitor. Here's a big name, Jeff Okudah. So yesterday, Jeff Okudah was, of course, there for the Detroit Lions. He participated, and it seemed like he played pretty darn well. But today for the Detroit Lions, Jeff Okudah was not participating. Now, we don't know why he was not participating. We know this offseason he had that groin injury, that he had surgery on this offseason. But yesterday he did practice. This could be something scheduled. But he looked good. There was no injury that showed up yesterday. It could be something scheduled for the Detroit Lions, trying to give him some rest. Jerry Jacobs, the cornerback, we talked about him as well. And same thing with Damian Ratley, who has missed some time for the Detroit Lions. So some similar names that we've heard from. And I think the Lions are erring more on the safe side. Important that a lot of these guys get back and get healthy, especially the guys that we know they have something to prove to try to make this roster for the Detroit Lions. But some good news, Derek Barnes was back in practice for the Lions here. So Derek Barnes has missed some time. He's been working off to the side with trainers, but now he was there with the team participating today, and he's still kind of working back to those top reps for the Detroit Lions. And because of that, Shawndian Hamilton actually got some first team reps in his place because he's kind of working back at it. So that's a good sign for Shawndian Hamilton, but it's just awesome to hear that Derek Barnes is back and practicing. So that's good. Some notes from the Detroit Lions 7-on-7 drills that they did today in a minicamp. And for the first time this offseason that reporters were there, the Detroit Lions did 7-on-7 drills, not only from the red zone, as they usually do, but also from midfield, which allows for bigger plays. It allows for a lot more space, maybe different concepts, because when you're close to the end zone, obviously things are much more shrunk down, and they can actually benefit the defense in those situations. But they did it for midfield as well. So let's start off with the takeaways, though, from the red zone first, and then we'll get into some of those midfield takeaways. But it's the same guys, the same names continue to come up as the guys that are difficult for the defense to cover. Running backs and tight ends. We know who Jared Goff is going to want to throw the ball to this year, and we can already see who the weapons are going to be, right? We can already see, just from what we're hearing, who the weapons are going to be. It's going to be the tight ends, and it's going to be the running backs. You can look at the history of Jared Goff. He likes to go to those guys. But when you hear about every single time in practice that these are the guys that are making big plays, you kind of know what to expect this season in terms of matchups. DeAndre Swift, no one has been able to guard this guy. Actually, he broke Alex Brown so bad that he actually came up limping on a route. He literally may have broke his ankles. I don't know. Hopefully not. Obviously, we want guys healthy, but that's how dynamic and shifty Swift is. No one can match up with this guy. Apparently, he had a one-handed touchdown grab in the red zone. Okay, we'll start with red zone first. He had a one-handed bobbling touchdown grab. I mean, that's some concentration. And you know DeAndre Swift, is going to be concentrated this season, okay? He's probably still got that drop in the back of his mind, like, hey, that ain't going to happen again. I'm not dropping Enzo passes again. That ain't happening again, okay? I'm securing that football. So one-handed touchdown grab on Jelani Tavai. Interesting there, Tavai in coverage. But the word is Tavai was in really good position. Swift just made a heck of a catch, and it must have been pretty good ball placement from a guy like Jared Goff if he was able to keep it away from good coverage. But Jelani Tavai in coverage, that's important to hear that it was good positioning, because for linebackers, it's a tough ask to guard any kind of running back, but it's very important. We know Tavai's slimming down, trying to get a little bit quicker. That's very important. I feel like he's very smart as a coverage guy when I did some film look on him, but a lot of that speed can be an issue. So that's really good to hear that, kind of for both sides, but we know Swift has just been dominant. Tyrell Williams did have a touchdown today against Amani Oruwariye in the end zone. Remember, there was no Jeff Okudah, so Amani was clearly one of the top cornerbacks, and I'm guessing that Quentin Dunbar was probably the top outside cornerback as well with no Jeff Okudah. We also got to hear guys like Cornelder, Melifon, who get some opportunities playing cornerback. Maybe they got some more opportunities without having Jeff Okudah, but Tyrell Williams did have a touchdown against Amani. TJ Hockenson had a touchdown against Will Harris. I'm thinking he's going to be the strong safety, so it sounds as if from that strong safety spot, he lined up against TJ Hockenson. Now, that's been a tough matchup just because of size. Will Harris was asking for a push-off, but apparently he beat Will Harris twice from what I read. It's a tough matchup for a guy like Will Harris just because of the pure size difference there. The worst coverage assignment a guy like Will Harris could ask for, aside from a guy like Darren Fells, just because of the size difference in the red zone, you're just putting it up for grabs. You just put it away from him. He was asking for a push-off, but that's a bad, tough matchup. However, we're going to talk a little bit later about a pass breakup that he did have, but that is one area that we need to hear improvement from with Will Harris. And I do think he's going to be the starting strong safety in that split safety set, which could help him. Also, Jason Kabinda had a touchdown grab against Anthony Pittman. It is nice to hear the fullback getting involved a little bit, okay? The Lions are definitely going to keep a fullback on the roster. They did cut Nick Bolden, so Jason Kabinda kind of has his leg up for that race. We have a lot of guys competing for kind of an H-back type of role, so it's nice to hear our fullback get involved, get a touchdown on Anthony Pittman. So that's really nice to hear. But then you move to the 7-on-7 from midfield, and this is where we got some different results, but again, it was a lot of the same positions here. The tight end position. Alize Mack beats Dean Marlowe up the seam for a big grab. Alize Mack, really this offseason, he's been one of those guys that we've heard his name a ton. To me, it seems like Alize Mack is in his position to be the number 3 tight end for the Detroit Lions this season. There's no doubt in my mind the Lions will keep at least 3 tight ends. I think Fells makes the team, we'll see, and we know Hawkinson's going to make it, but I think right now, as it continues through the beginning part of this offseason, Alize Mack, to me, seems to have the leg up in that race as he had a nice grab against Dean Marlowe. So he's going against probably second unit there with Dean Marlowe. So that kind of seems to be where Alize Mack is sitting right now. Now, apparently, TJ Hockenson did have a drop when Alex Anzalone was in coverage. I've had a few notes of Hockenson drops over the offseason so far, so it seems like he's still knocking off some rust. He's going to get a lot of targets, so, you're going to have stuff golf. The connection is there. And those two guys, their connection is going to be there all year. Expect a huge season from Hockenson. Based off of last year, he could see a bigger year this year because so far he's just been a matchup problem. Same thing with running backs. If the production isn't there for those two positions, I don't know what the Lions are doing. But with question marks at receiver, they're going to be involved, but expect tight ends and running backs to honestly steal the show this season. We know Goff will go to his tight ends. And like we said, Anthony Lynn's usually just had one tight end steal the show. And that could be the case this year, and Hawk could just go off. He's going to see his reps. The fact that he's going against Hockenson means he was getting some first-team reps. We're going to see Alex Anzalone play a lot this year. He's probably our best coverage linebacker as of this very second. When you look at the pass film, we don't know what's going to happen this year, but he's probably our best coverage linebacker. Hawk was able to beat him, but he did have a drop against Alex Anzalone. Brock Wright, another tight end here, he got involved. He had another seam grab from David Blau. That competition's interesting. A lot of people thinking Boyle's going to be the backup, but we've heard a lot of good things from David Blau over Tim Boyle so far. However, Brock Wright hit another grab up the seam. So tight ends, man, they're just going to be involved. And it's not even just Jared Goff and what he likes. It's also part of the offensive scheme, it seems, to get these tight ends involved. And Brock Wright's not a very big pass catcher historically. So for him, if he can add that to his game, that's going to be huge for him to potentially try to fight for a roster spot. So that's important. And also Quintez Cephas win against A.J. Parker. Now, we've heard a lot of good things out of Quintez Cephas. He seems like a lock to make the team for sure. He actually, to me, is probably in their top 4 receivers. and that's kind of a good thing for A.J. Parker. With no Okudah today, we've heard a lot of reps are coming for a guy like A.J. Parker. A.J. Parker is kind of vying for one of the last cornerback spots. I mean, right now, right, when you look at our cornerback position, it seems like Dunbar, Amani, Okudah, Elder, obviously Melifonwu is going to be in that group as well. And then after that, it's Mike Ford, it's A.J. Parker, it's Jerry Jacobs, it's some of these UDFAs. A.J. Parker is kind of like the last couple guys in, he's kind of in the area. Quintez Cephas continues to have his name brought up by the Detroit Lions in a very good way, which is a good thing. The Lions continue to talk about him. Dan Campbell, Antoine Randall L saying that he's like a sponge. He's just kind of soaking up all the information. They're talking about the little details in his game, the route details that continue to allow him to get open. Another guy that continued to have his name brought up this offseason, and he kind of seems like the surprise so far of the offseason, that would be Victor Bolden. So Victor Bolden in kick return opportunities was splitting the first reps with him and Tom Kennedy, which is a good thing because that means Tom Kennedy is there. We've been missing him a little bit this offseason, but Tom Kennedy is there. He's been splitting some opportunities with Victor Bolden as the top kick returners. Now, obviously, it's early. We don't know who's going to win that role. The second unit then being Khalif Raymond, who has a lot of experience doing it. Also, yes, DeAndre Swift. I don't think that'll ever be their top option, but in a pinch, having running back depth could allow the Lions to do that. Just taking reps there to have some opportunities. But that's the first thing from Victor Bolden, getting top reps as a return man, but also as a receiver. He had a 40-yard touchdown grab against Tracy Walker. Okay, now this is why that's important, because first off, Tracy Walker is probably against the first team defense, most likely. It's a 40-yard touchdown. Walker was probably playing free safety in a split safety look. So that means he got deep. This is big. So it means he's going against some of the top defensive players. I don't know if it's first team or second team, but he's going against some of the top defensive players, and he made a big play against Tracy Walker. That is huge for Bolden and his chances to make the roster. When you look at the Lions receiver group, it's wide open. Ratley missing time. Kennedy missed some time. It's very open for a lot of players right now to fight for spots. And I think Victor Bolden, what we've heard so far through the offseason, has to be in a good position as of right now. Victor Bolden, he can give the Lions some flexibility. Kind of like maybe what the Rams had to a lesser degree with the Tavon Austin. Something like that. A guy that can run end arounds, can play almost like a running back at his size, also return and catch the football. He gives you a lot of kind of a secret weapon, almost like Tyler Ervin from the Green Bay Packers. There's not a ton of locks at this receiver spot. We don't really know who's going to make it. When you consider the UDFAs that are here, when you consider all the new free agent signings, the Damian Ratleys, the Khalif Raymonds, there's a lot of question marks. But so far, Victor Bolden has been standing out, not only as a receiver, but also as a return man. Campbell saying that he was impressed with Victor Bolden. He's very patient. He understands receiver leverage, and also he looks very explosive. Boyle stated the fact that he's had some incredible catches. So with Tim Boyle, that's probably second team reps. So first team, some second team reps, but he's getting recognized all over the place, which is huge. So that's kind of like the dark horse, it seems like, so far of the offseason for the Detroit Lions. Move on to one-on-one drills. And again, no Jeff Okudah here, allows for some guys to get some reps. These are one-on-one, so it's just like, hey, go against each other. So it's not really a scheme thrown into it. You don't really know where guys are lining up based on this, but it is an opportunity to face some different competition. So Melifonwu and Will Harris both had pass breakups. Melifonwu had his pass breakup against Brashad Perriman, which is extremely impressive. Perriman has speed and he's big. That's a tough matchup for a lot of guys. Melifonwu is one of those rare breeds that actually could match up with him. He definitely could. Perriman's really never had an issue with separation. The issue for him has been drops. Hopefully he gets back to some of those Buccaneers days where he wasn't dropping the football. But what's impressive here is that means he's getting a hand on the football, showing off that length, which you know he has, showing off speed. His balance to be able to stick with a guy like Perriman is impressive. So there's a lot of very impressive things that are just into that alone, that you're able to get your hands on the football against Perriman. Stay that locked, not allow a lot of cushion, and of course using that length to make a play on the football. It's impressive from a young guy. Well, Harris had a PBU against Khalif Raymond. Now Raymond's probably more of a slot receiver that could play outside, but he's got some speed, a little bit smaller. That's probably a better matchup for Will Harris than we talk about him against tight ends. So that's the spot that he's going to have to continue to improve, though, is in his coverage. But he had a PBU. So yesterday, an interception. Yes, he got beat by Hockenson today, but then he also had a pass breakup against Khalif Raymond. Corn Elder and A.J. Parker also both had pass breakups. Corn Elder did his against Tyrell Williams. Tyrell looks like the Lions' probably #1 receiver so far this offseason. So for a guy like Corn Elder at 5'10" to do this against Tyrell Williams, that's extremely impressive. I mean, that's very, that was, this is going to be a top receiver for the Lions. So for Corn Elder to do that is huge. huge. There seems to be a lot of competition going on at slot. We talked about Mike Ford yesterday having the pass breakup against Brashad Perriman, and now we're talking about A.J. Parker, who has continued to get his name brought up. There's some very legit competition for that slot spot right now for the Lions, but it also is showing some versatility the Lions have. Dan Campbell said the trick is to compete while also not really knowing you're competing, and that's what the Lions did. So they did a competition today where basically they made two circles with the players on offense and on defense, and one player would start, both players would start offense, defense, they'd have to run around a circle, and then they have to hit the dummy. So it's just kind of working on speed, bend around the edge because you have to get low to work around a circle, and then you have to hit the dummy, and whoever did it first won the drill. And we have a couple of results. Sean Dion Hamilton, who like I said was getting some higher reps today, which is a very good sign for him because Derek Barnes is working back a little bit. He beat Jake Hausman in this drill, which I would kind of expect. Hausman, the tight end out of Ohio State, I could definitely see that. I probably would have thought that would happen. Jamal Williams beat Dean Marlowe. Marlowe's not the fastest guy, so very impressive there from Jamal Williams. And then Victor Bolden beat Corn Elder in this drill. So I think that's a very good matchup. Victor Bolden is like 5'8". Corn Elder's about 5'9", 5'10". Very good matchup there. But I like that. They mix in those drills to compete, and also they had to have some fun with it. Two coaches also got involved. Brian Duker, who is the defensive assistant, offensive quality control coach, Steve. I don't know who won. They didn't say who won, but they went against each other. So just mixing up, keeping it fun, but also not knowing you're working. And I wanted to throw out some quotes, just some notes from quotes that we have. Jack Fox has discussed him working on snap, the placeholder. He's worked on that this offseason. That was one thing that, if you remember, when Braden Coombs was asked about Jack Fox, he's like, that's one area I can see him improving in. And remember, Prater really struggled last season with accuracy. You wonder if Jack Fox had maybe a little bit to do with that, unfortunately. But Fox, still being a very young player, he's putting his mind to work to that. And he said he's had a ton of work with it this season. He's actually changed up his stance, playing a little bit more to the side than behind, which could allow for a better view for a kicker. But he's been working a lot. Hopefully that means good things for kickers. But with having two kickers on the roster and two long snappers, he's had a lot of guys to interchange with, and he is the one placeholder. So a lot of opportunities for him, and he could be changed up a little bit. And hopefully that leads to some good results for the Detroit Lions. As I mentioned, Cephas, Victor Bolden continue to be talked about. Trey Flowers brought up the new scheme, saying that for him, it's a little bit different in coverage, dropping in coverage. He said it's more emphasized. He said he's done it, but it's more emphasized than it's really ever been. And for me, it's just a lot more moving parts. It's not simply hand to dirt, I have one job. Now there's multiple route combinations you have to be prepared for. So these guys are definitely going to show some rust, Trey Flowers, Romeo. But we know that these guys, as talented as they are, they're going to put their mind to it. We know the athleticism is there for Trey Flowers. We've seen him do it on occasion, but he's saying it's more emphasized now, and it will be. It's definitely going to be more emphasized to be able to drop a couple yards in flat. We know the athleticism is there, but it's just working on these things, right? Getting repetition. We talked about yesterday, Romeo Okora didn't drop really well, and it allowed Okuda to get beat deep. So it's very important for these guys to develop that. But it's a little bit different role, but I do like it on paper. Okora has looked good, but it's about Flowers and Romeo being able to kind of put that into their game because we know they can do everything else. Flowers isn't a beast run defender. He's a really good pressure guy when he's going at it. For him, it's just about adding some of that drop ability to his game, and that's going to be huge. And of course, Tim Boyle brought up how much he's learned from a guy like Aaron Rodgers, trying to pick his brain. And he also said for him, the big draw was Dan Campbell. Mark Brunell has a wealth of knowledge, but we continue to hear good things. And Tim Boyle did say that they've made strides this week, this offensively, okay? They're where they're supposed to be. Now, I want to finish with this quote, and I thought it was interesting because we got two different answers here. Asked about San Francisco week one, of course, preparing for that. What is your mindset right now? Dan Campbell's like, hey, we got to get, our own house ready before we can start focusing on week one. He's in charge of the whole team. He's kind of overseeing the entire thing. He's got to make sure everything's well-oiled and fine-tuned before I start focusing on game planning for a specific team this early in the offseason. Meanwhile, Jared Goff, being the quarterback, not really managing the whole team, is like, hey, we got to finish the week strong, then get ready for training camp, but our focus is always on week one. So he's looking more forward. I think he's got that chip on his shoulder. I think Jared Goff is like, hey, I'm ready to go. And of course, playing San Francisco, a team that he's very familiar with, team that he's had some struggles against, I think this is an opportunity where he's kind of like, okay, I'm ready to do this. He's had some struggles recently. I think last 3 or the last 4 games he's played against them, but overall has a solid record against them. He's kind of just like chomping at it to just get back there and prove some people wrong. So different takes, different mindsets, but I do love the mindset from Jared Goff. So those are your takeaways from day 2 of minicamp for the Detroit Lions. I know we're still on the road. We're still trying to do things like this, and I know the timing comes out sometimes late with these videos, but I'm doing my best. We'll be back to normalcy. I'm sorry we didn't do the Wednesday show tonight, but we will be back hopefully on Sunday. And also, I'm back on TikTok, man, so I'm going to have some updates over there as well. So go check me out. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.